Oh my god. I freaking love this movie. What's up, guys? This is Matt with Axiom Reviews, and today I'm going to be reviewing The Conjuring. The Conjuring, one of my favorite horror movies. Now, I am a huge horror movie fan. I love every form of horror. I haven't found a style of horror, a subgenre of horror that I haven't liked. That being said, the well-roundedness of this film is phenomenal to me. Now, most people have seen this film, myself included, of course, but for those of you that haven't seen it, based in 1971, the Perron family move into an old farmhouse in Rhode Island. Shortly after moving in, the family starts to experience strange things happening that end up growing into true terror. After seeking help from known paranormal investigators, Ed and Lorraine Warren, it becomes apparent that something truly satanic is now haunting the Perron family. Using their skills and knowledge obtained from years of paranormal research and demonology, Ed and Lorraine must do everything they can to defeat the evil entity that's threatening to destroy their entire family. So this movie came out in 2013. I know, been a few years since it came out, but I love the film. And seeing that Conjuring 3 is coming out this June, I figured I might as well do this one first. So the movie is directed by James Wan. Yeah, the same James Wan that made Saw, Dead Silence, Insidious 1 and 2, and Aquaman. The movie also stars Vera Farmiga, Patrick Wilson, Lily Taylor, and Ron Livingston. Now, like I said, I love this movie. I think it's a phenomenal horror movie. I think it culminates everything of what a very good horror movie needs to have. And as far as the scare factor, well, let's just say it's got a pretty decent scare factor as well. Especially considering the movie had 0 sex scenes, 0 nudity, very little profanity, not really much gore at all, and also had minimal depictions of alcohol and 0 smoking throughout the whole film. It still received an R rating solely due to its scare factor. Now, to me, that's a good sign. Now, I have to say, visually, I think it's phenomenal. The cinematography and the overall atmosphere of the film definitely plays homage to a lot of the 1970 horror films, especially The Exorcist. And it also has a very similar feel to the 1963 horror film The Haunting, which ironically Lily Taylor acted in the 1999 remake of The Haunting. Anyways, but with the primary feel of a modernized 1970s horror film, it really makes sense given the fact that it took place initially in 1971 when the Perron family moved into that house. Now, yes, it does say it's based off a true story, but that doesn't go without extreme Hollywood blemishes. From the events that happened with the family, the events that happened with Ed and Lorraine Warren, when they investigated it, there's just too much he said, she said on everything that happened to fully believe that all of this happened or to not believe that all this happened. Now, I'm not a skeptic about the paranormal, but I'm also not an activist trying to push people to believe in the paranormal as well. Believe what you want. But one of the blemishes that I did catch early on, because I am a fan of Ed and Lorraine Warren's books, from before the movie, was the Annabelle doll. The Annabelle doll originally was a Raggedy Ann doll. The director James Wan wanted to make it a more creepy looking porcelain doll, which worked perfectly because that little doll creeped me the hell out. Now, because I'm a big fan of music, I have to give a huge shout out to the musical composer for this film, Joseph Bishara. Joseph Bishara also worked with James Wan on the Insidious movies, actually all 4 of them. He also did the composition to The Prodigy, which was outstanding. The musical choices that were used in this film and the overall sound and ambiance to the film really gave a true horror feeling throughout the entire film. Not just the jump scares, not just the buildup or the climaxes. The music gave such an eerie feel, just sitting there in the theaters expecting something to happen, making you feel uneasy about yourself and what's happening in the film. It really did a phenomenal job of just adding that much extra. Also, another way to show the movie did pretty well is to compare its budget to its profits. Its budget was estimated around $20 million to film it, whereas the gross sales raked in roughly $319 million worldwide. And if knowing that many people went to see this movie didn't convince you anymore, just know that it was also produced by New Line Cinema, the same New Line Cinema that has the nickname The House That Freddy Built, since it was the Nightmare on Elm Street series that made them go from a small production company to a grand Hollywood production company. So they take pride in their horror movies. Now, some of the quick bits that I really liked about the movie, it didn't really get repetitive. It maintained a gradual build-up all the way leading to the primary climax of the movie, and it kept you at the edge of your seat. The acting was very well done by all of the actors, not just the main cast. In my opinion, there's a perfect amount of character development in the film as well. The character dialogues between one another and how the relationships form and the relationships that are already there between the parents, between Ed and Lorraine as husband and wife, between the parents and their children. The character development really stands out above a lot of horror movies to me, because it creates the characters beyond that of what another horror film would do. It brings realism to the actual characters. That being said, the emotional dialogue between the characters was amazing, not just for a horror film, but overall for almost any film. Now, I also feel that there was the right amount of jump scares, comedic relief, and continuous build-up, short and long, leading up to multiple different variations of climaxes within the film. It kept you at the edge of your seat. It kept you wanting more. It kept you wanting to see more, while also feeling very eerie about the film, as well as yourself watching the film. Now, for me personally, I can sometimes get bored in the lull moments of horror movies. If it's not continuously building the dialogue, if it's not pushing forward with what the story is, or giving something to the audience for them to remember for something that's going to happen later on in the film, I tend to get bored with horror movies while I'm watching them, but I still love them to death. But I didn't get bored at all with this film. Every single bit of it, from the music, the dialogue, the overall character interactions, the storyline itself, the characters, the big bad character that presents itself pretty early on in the film, it's all exceptional. It's a great horror film. Now, I know I'm not the only one that thinks that, considering that it has a 7.5 out of 10 on IMDb, and it's an 86% certified fresh on Rotten Tomatoes, with an 83% audience score as well. And for those of you that haven't really seen the Conjuring films, this film spawned an entire quote-unquote Conjuring universe, comprising of films like The Conjuring 2, Annabelle, Annabelle Creation, Annabelle Comes Home, The Nun, The Curse of La Llorona, and then coming this June, Conjuring 3. And I love that the title is also called The Devil Made Me Do It. Considering in the movies they've dealt with spirits, they've dealt with demons, I'm waiting to see if they're going to tackle the big bad itself. Overall, I'm going to give this movie an 8.5 out of 10. I think it's an amazing film. And I believe an 8.5 out of 10 for a normal film on overall rating spectrums, I believe that almost puts it at a 10 out of 10 in the horror movie bracket itself, because horror movies tend to get rated lower than standard films. But like I said, there's no real lull moments in the film. All the conversation is important. All the dialogue between the characters is important towards the story itself, or it's just important to the audience to understand more about who the characters are. What's their interactions? What's their relationship like? It's a solid film. Now, I know most people have seen it once, twice, 100 times maybe, but for those of you that haven't seen it, I really recommend you watch it. Whether you like horror movies or don't like horror movies, it's a solid movie to watch. Whether you're a fan of major budget films or low end budget films, or as a horror fan, if you're a fan of lower budget indie films versus the large budget horror films that have come out in recent years, I still recommend for everyone to see it. I recommend for everyone to see every single one of the films in the Conjuring universe. Regardless of me being a horror fan, they're good films. And at the end of the day, whether there's certain dialogue you don't care for, or certain storylines that may be better or worse than the others, they're all entertaining. And at the end of the day, that's the root of all films, to be entertained. To walk out of the theater just thinking, dang, that was a good film. Alright guys, so that's my review of The Conjuring. Like I said, I freaking love that film. But if you like the review, please click that thumbs up button, click the subscribe button for future videos. But also, if you have any movie ideas for me to watch and review for you guys, please comment them below. I love watching these films. I love reviewing these films. Put a list down there, put one film, put 10. I don't care. Give me something that I maybe have seen prior, or something that I haven't seen. Especially if it's something that I haven't seen, I'm definitely going to look into that and want to watch it. So like the video, subscribe to the channel, comment on this video, and let me know what you guys want me to see and review for you guys. And that's it. I'll see you all next time. Gah!